Policy Committee of the Whole for today, June the 11th, 2024. Ms. Cindy, I'd like to have a roll call at this time.
Ms. Richards?
Present.
Mr. Toller?
Here.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Present.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Anthony?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
First item on our agenda tonight is to consider the approval of the 2024-25 salary schedule. It says Mr. Jinko, but that doesn't look like Mr. Jinko. Mr. McNeely.
He is in the room.
I had Mr. Jinko on standby. I wasn't sure if I was going to be here tonight. Had a procedure this morning, and so I've also written my statements to avoid being too off the cuff tonight when coming off of a sedative. I do want to say off the cuff, Shabbat Shalom. Tonight at sundown begins Shavuot, which is what we call Pentecost. So it commemorates when the Jewish people were at Mount Sinai and were given the law, and Christians, the subsequent fulfillment was on the day of Pentecost when Peter stood and preached the sermon, the Holy Spirit fell. So it's a significant night tonight. Now back to my prepared. Good evening. Tonight we are presenting the salary schedule for the upcoming school year for your consideration. Before going over the schedule, I would like to commend Ms. Stilley, the assistant superintendents, and the board for your leadership and continued striving to improve and bring equity to our district's pay scales, both within the district and in comparison to our neighboring districts. Last year, we were able to make significant adjustments to several specific areas, in addition to an overall raise, plus making the $500 November stipend a permanent part of the salary schedule. Educators in Tangipahoa Parish no longer have to drive to St. Tammany or Livingston Parish in search of competitive pay. We are now comparable to St. Tammany and higher than Livingston. You are to be commended for this, and I know we all thank the taxpayers for approving the half-penny tax that has made this possible. Regarding this year's salary schedule, I want to apologize to you on behalf of the Louisiana legislature for the speed at which we must adopt this year's schedule. A new law was signed by Governor Landry less than 2 weeks ago that puts a requirement for the salary schedule to be adopted by June 30th of each year. In order to do that, this poses a significant challenge, so we need to bring it to the committee tonight in order to have it adopted at your meeting on the 18th. Additionally, we haven't even received the finalized MFP for next year, so we don't have a budget. But we will pursue. Additionally, I want to thank everyone who worked on the Extracurricular Advisory Committee to improve equity in our extracurricular funding. Most of the committee's requests are included in this salary schedule, but we will need to address other items through personnel and through the budget in the future. We anticipate the cost of these additional requests to be about $1.3 million per year. With these increases, we anticipate that the district's total funding for extracurricular activities will be around $3 million in the 24-25 school year, in addition to what we spend facilities and utilities. So I commend you for the investment that we're making in extracurricular. If it's okay, I would like to review the salary schedule and just go over some of the significant items. Number one, on page 5, you will notice that we are going to a semi-monthly pay period. So our employees now will not have to wait. Yes, you can clap for our payroll staff.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming, and we appreciate
Good job.
That has been a priority for Ms. Stilley when I first came here, and so we have been able, with the help of the business services team, to get that done. So semi-monthly payroll checks will be issued to each employee and placed within one of the 2 pay cycles shown below, based upon the number of work days that they would have worked had they started on the first day. Simply, the paychecks will be on the 14th and the 18th of each month. 28th.
28.
Stay on the piece of paper, see? I'm looking at it, the 14th and the 28th of each month, unless that falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, at which point the pay period would move forward Additionally, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, December is a little weird because of the Christmas holiday. So I believe the check will be the 13th and the 18th, but we will have a calendar that will go out to all employees so they will know when they're getting paid. I also want to emphasize that no one is getting paid later. Okay, so it's not that they're going to have to wait longer. Instead of waiting to the end of the month, they will get half their check on the 14th and the second half on the 28th. Employees will just need to potentially change auto drafts or things like that if they were using the 26th in the past. That second check will be coming on the 28th unless there's a movement. On page 6, additional compensation for teachers. Last year, you passed a $25 an hour for what we call after school. The legislature passed a new law that that's where this wording is coming from, to give $30 per hour specifically for prescribed duties for work beyond the scope of their prescribed duties and responsibilities specifically identified and described in the job description. So we've put the language in here. Additionally, on page 8, it talks about the rest of the employees. Exempt employees fall into the same category. Non-exempt employees, which are typically hourly workers, get overtime as a result of Department of Labor law. So with this, we are in compliance with what the state law passed. I did add into these that any of this work must have prior approval of the supervisor, and it must be submitted with their monthly time. Both of those are done to make sure that we don't have someone who thinks they're doing additional work that has not been approved, and also they wait the whole year and submit that. So we will get clarity for employees that believe that they are doing additional work. They need to talk to their supervisor and get approval before they do that. In reviewing policy, it said that the annual leave shall be in the salary schedule. So this year it is. And it just shows on page 9, you can see the schedule for how annual leave is accrued for, I believe it's just 12-month employees? Yes. I'm still learning on the job. All right, on page 11, there is an additional stipend for our school secretaries who serve as financial account clerks. For the additional workload that they have, and that's a stipend between 4% to 6% depending upon the job duties. Page 15, Mr. Jinko, I believe, spoke with you about this. We've moved, eliminated one class of employee and changed the pay scale for the others in an attempt to be able to hire mechanics for our new fleet services. And the one that everybody's been waiting for, athletic stipends. Page 23.
Before you talk, can I just want to interject one thing before we talk about the athletic stipends? That, as you mentioned earlier, the coaches and the participants in extracurricular activities have been asking for these types of changes for multiple years. However, they have, in my conversations with them and in other people's conversations with them, we explained that we had to prioritize getting our teachers and the education-related folks up in their competitive salaries first. I will tell you, all of the coaches that I talked to about that were in agreement with that. They understood that, and waited patiently until we prioritized those things first, and then now we're finally at the point where we can address the concerns that they're asking us to address here. But they absolutely understood that we had to get our support staff and our teachers competitive first. I'm sorry. Okay,
no, thank you. So in the first paragraph, I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but basically we address a couple of issues. One, it refers to minimum number of participants and events. That is not in the salary schedule. That is something that they gave to us. The administration is currently reviewing that, and we will vet that with the principals and then bring it back to you before the school year on what the minimum requirements are to be a team or to, so. The other thing is there was a disparity on whether or not a para or a secretary was some type of coach versus a teacher because of the base pay. When we hire someone who's not our employee to come in and coach, they were using the non-certified step 0 as the minimum base pay. So what you will see throughout here is anyone that's getting a stipend, we're using the non-certified step 0 as the minimum base pay. So that gives equity for our different clubs and teams. All right. We've eliminated the 1% CDL reduction, which basically gives every coach a 1% raise that didn't drive, okay? Because they're not getting that reduced anymore. We've also increased the CDL stipend from 2% to 3%, which gives every coach who does drive a 1% CDL stipend increase and the 1%, same 1% everyone else is getting. So there is a raise in here. Additionally, stay on my list, we've added soccer as a major sport instead of a minor sport, and we have increased the maximum percentage for a high school coach to 23% from, I believe it was 18%.
Yeah, right.
So this enables them to coach additional sports and receive additional pay, and that does not count, the CDL stipend does not count toward that. So if you're maxed out at the 23 and the 3% CDL, you get 26%. Minor sports increased from a 3% to a 4%, so once again a 1% increase. And powerlifting, I believe, was specifically added to the minor sports, which that list is not all inclusive, is what it says. All right, for our middle school / junior highs, we've added soccer, cross country, and numerous assistant positions, as well as raised the maximum percentage there from 15 to 18%. The CDL stipend, we've clarified the qualification for that, and so basically, it's not per sport, it's per the driver. So if the driver meets a minimum of 10 trips, either for his own sport, for another sport, for an after school, 10 trips, they get the 3%. After that, they will get paid the bus driver rate. If it's not their sport, because of state law, if it's not their sport, they will get paid driver rate for actually driving. If it's,
other way.
right, if it is their sport, we can only pay them while they're actually driving, because we're already paying them to be at the game. If it is not their sport, they will get paid the driver rate for the whole trip, for the duration.
Just like anybody else that drove.
Correct. All right, we increased the summer coaching stipend from $1,000 to $1,500. We increased the athletic field upkeep stipend from $750 to $1,000, and we added playoff compensation at $250 for head coaches and $150 for assistant coaches per round, including the state championship game. And then if they win the state championship game, it's an additional $250
Yay.
and $150.
Yes, that was.
I know
wonderful.
Kentwood's excited about that.
Yes.
And Amy, and Amy.
And Amy? That's right. Oh, Laura.
All right. On the next page, the allocations for the sports. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we've increased the number of allocations. I believe that this is important. The more assistant coaches that you have out there with the head coaches, the better safety you have, the better instruction you have. And then also there's a provision added for CECP coaches, which are coaches who don't actually work for us as employees, but are hired to fill coaching positions. There was an increase in the number of allocations for the junior highs and middles and junior highs. Based on the number of 6th and 8th grade students, there's an additional assistant coach as they go up the scale with the number of students. Excited to say that the committee didn't just come back with athletics. It also has to do with other extracurricular. There's additional stipend for a head band director for junior high, middle school, and then also a position of an assistant band director for the junior highs. The summer stipend used to be $500 for band directors. It's now $1,500 with the same 50 hours. And we're encouraging through this, all of our coaches, directors who work with kids will be participating in the North Oaks Summer Coaching Clinic to make sure that they're accounting for heat exhaustion and the health of the students. There's a chorus director, and we've added the drama director stipend for that as well. And then they also will get, if they have a CDL and drive for their events, they will get paid bus driver pay for the drive time. All right, for extracurricular stipends for our cheerleaders, dance, drill, flag, majorette, pep squad, and robotics, the stipend is just a flat $2,500 per semester. That's what most of them were paying anyway, and it just gets weird with the calculating the percentage. So it's just for equity. That's what we're setting. They also will now get the $1,500 summer stipend and participate in the coaches clinic. And at Dr. Fasell's request, we've changed how we do the other activities. And instead of giving the schools, here's kind of your budget and you work within that, we're now asking the schools to tell us what's important to you, make a submission through their supervisor and through the director of academics for clubs and other things. And that way we can make sure at the district level that we have equity in what a beta club sponsors making at one school versus another school. Did I say that right, Mitt? She said that.
She just walked out, yeah. She just walked out.
Yeah, that's what she said.
She said, yeah.
That's what she said.
So do you want questions as you're finishing a topic?
No, ma'am, I would like a
Okay.
motion and a
Okay.
vote.
Good try.
And lastly, we went ahead and put in the salary schedule a bus attendant hourly rate with the hopes of coming to you with something on that in the future once we have the budget straight. And we need to have a workers' comp liability clerk at each school that helps get the paperwork done when there's an incident. And so we're recommending $150 a month stipend for them to do that additional paperwork.
Okay.
Now I'll open it up for questions, and Mr. Jinko is going to handle all of that.
First, let's get a motion to adopt the
Move to
salaries.
adopt the administration's
Second.
recommendation.
Motion and second's been made, and now you're gonna let Mr. Jinko answer all
He's
the
handling all-
questions?
All hard questions. True, false, and I'll take them all.
All right, Ms. Rose, you
love
wanna
it.
start?
Well, since we're at the bottom, so with the workman's comp liability clerk, would that be someone who's already employed by us, or that would
Yes.
be, okay, okay.
And we're going to work with the principals for them to pick that person, and they need to be non-instructional. It needs to be someone who doesn't have a classroom, because if something happens, they need to be able to respond to the incident.
Okay. Well, first I want to thank you for all of the clarifications that I sent you that you were able to work on and fix, and all of this, the CDL stuff and all of that. I did want to recap what you said at the beginning. Like, I know we were presented a schedule, how many people on a team, how many events they need to do. That's not part of a salary schedule, but what did you say about, are we taking their recommendations?
I've taken their recommendations. The administration has not had a chance to look at those
Okay.
together and talk to the principals about whether those minimum recommendations are reasonable in some cases.
Okay. So once we get that done, though, that would become part of Mr. Vining as athletic coordinator, director, to make sure that the schools follow those things, right?
That's a Mr. Jinko question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because, yeah, that was one of their big,
Concern.
yes, very, very much so. And also the fact that we're not this year going to be able to afford to have an athletic director at every campus, but with an increase in stipend amount, maybe they can use one of those for their athletic director on their own campus. Because I do know that we had some issues with sometimes paperwork not getting turned in because there was really no one in charge of that at certain schools because they don't have enough people. So now that, I know that's something that would fall under Mr. Vining too, to make sure we turn in our paperwork with LHSAA and wherever we got to do
Yeah,
it.
the athletic director is really a bigger issue than the salary schedule. That's a personnel,
Yeah,
coming
that's-
up with a job description, making sure that we have the budget for it. advertise, that's gonna have
I
to
mean,
be
every
ad-
school needs that, but we really need to, that needs to stay on our list.
Yes.
Because every school really does need that. They need somebody to, because especially the bigger schools, they have so many kids and so many athletes, so much
Well-
paperwork for every kid.
But I also think we have an athletic director here in central office that could be part of that job description as well.
Yeah.
Instead of having it at every school paying salaries for athletic directors at Independence and Kentwood all the way down to Ponchatoula.
I didn't think we had an AD at every school. I thought that
Well,
that.
there's not, but if,
There's
like
not.
Ponchatoula has 2,300 kids, there's,
Do y'all?
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's so many athletes that there's, somebody gotta be in charge of making sure all that's done. Yeah, I mean,
But
Mr.
there's actually not that.
there's not an
Yeah, it's not a
official.
job
We have an AD
title.
that does the paperwork, that, well, you say it, they do the paperwork. Because
No
it
extra
has to be done.
pay, no extra, it's not an official title.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, there's no official title, but I think
Right.
that's something we really need to, like, keep in the forefront. My other thing on the CDL, I think, speaking with you and Brett also on this, I think we still have some discussion that we'd like to maybe work out a better plan, because this is definitely not something that I think they're all happy about. I think we all need to talk to our people that we've put on the committee and double back on what would be a better option if they're not happy with this option, because a percentage is different for every person who has a 5-year person or a 15-year person. Their money is gonna be different, but they're doing the same job. So it may be that we need to come up with a better plan. So I wanna keep that, we talk about that between now and next week, and maybe before we vote final.
And
We're
Mr.
You're
Chairman,
talking specifically about the CDL situation.
talking specifically about the CDL.
and Mr. Chairman, can I?
So we're trying to be equitable, eat with money, yeah.
The issue that we kind of run into on that is, I would like to just pay them all bus driver pay, then
Yeah.
everybody gets the same pay. The issue is, if you're a coach and you drive for the basketball game, you can't get paid during the basketball game, which significantly cuts how much they would get paid
Yeah, yeah.
for that night, because they're already getting paid to be there for the basketball game. So we can only pay them for when they're actually driving the bus, which has nothing to do with coaching the basketball team.
Yeah.
I'm not picking on basketball, it's just in
But it's
every
any-
instance.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think we just, if we can, like, have another conversation about that before we actually vote, and see if we can come up with something.
You're talking about vote on the 18th.
Yeah, and vote on the 18th, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make
Go ahead, Mr.
a statement real quick. And Mr. McNeely, I know you're going off of a piece of paper. You don't want to veer from that, so I'm not going to ask you any crazy stuff. I just want to say, look, we were hit with this at the beginning of the year with that committee for athletics. I think as an administration, this is leaps and bounds of
Yeah.
what we have agreed to improve our athletics throughout the parish. So I want to just thank your department for everything they've done. I want to thank the committee for what they've done. And I kind of want to echo what Rose said, though, is I have some revisions. I've had some things that have been suggested to me. I just want everybody to understand that we adopt this tonight as to come to the 18th for final adoption. In that, between that time, that discussion doesn't stop. There's other revisions that can be made. There's other discussions that can be had. But just to say that we have done things that have not been done in 30 years is very impressive to me, as far as like raising the maintenance budget for fields so coaches don't have to dig in their pocket or their programs. To see a drama director who has not gotten paid for any productions in their career to get a stipend. These are things that are going to change lives and actually probably boost the attendance and the people wanting to actually volunteer to do these jobs on our campuses that increase student involvement. I just want to thank y'all for what y'all have done, and I'm sure the coaches are going to be very happy with this. I just want to make sure to echo what Ms. Rose says. This is just a living document. It changes, it grows with the needs of our parish and our coaching staff.
thank you. In a perfect world, we would love to have taken this, gone back and met with the committee to make sure that, everybody's in agreement on this, met with the principals, had a much further discussion, and then I got a phone call with John Geist that said, have you seen the new law they just passed? And so everything got condensed. I believe we have most of what's in there, and yes, we will continue to work to refine this to a more perfect document than it is tonight.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one more suggestion that I spoke to Jeff about and Ms. Stilley, and when we have these conversations, it brings up things that we may overlook, and I feel like maybe we've overlooked APs because that number, that 19% for the high school APs or for the APs in general hasn't changed in years. So I'd like between now and the 18th to look and see what Livingston and St. Tammany, I know it's upwards of 20, the higher 20%. So I would like to see what we can do maybe to get between those two numbers. So where, just like we've been trying to do in the past, where we're trying to get our salaries comparable and competitive, maybe we can keep our stipends for APs competitive. There's different nuances there. You have Ponchatoula where you have maybe 5 or 6 APs. You have Kentwood, Amite, Sumner where you have 1 AP. We still have the same sports. We still have all the games. They don't have 6 people to pull from to go to these things. They have to do it a lot themselves. So we can't make everybody happy. I understand that. And I applaud the work that we've done so far, but I would like to see us in the next week just look at that and see if we can do a little bump on that. That would show our APs that we're trying to include them in our progress.
All right. Go up, Mr. Jerry.
Okay, so maybe, I don't see it in here, it may be in here someplace, but the compensation for our drivers who run more than one bus route or who are called on to fill in for someone who's called in sick.
Mr. Jinko and I had that discussion today. We have a couple of issues with routes, and we're hoping to come up with something, part of this living document, to come back and have something on, I'll let you speak to, because I know y'all are working on that right now.
Yeah, because this is something that we're actually doing. We're actually using drivers to run extra routes, and we're actually doing that now. I just don't. My question is I don't see a stipulation in here for that. So.
No, sir. There is some language in the back related to like the field trip amounts and so forth. And as Mr. McNeely said, transportation is working on developing a plan that is, if I run 14H and I'm called to run while I'm running my route, I have to pick up the kids for 52H, coming up with a more equitable compensation plan for those individuals. That's until we get the number of drivers that we need to handle every route and get subs to fill those vacancies. We've got to come up with a better plan to make sure that our drivers that are helping out are getting the compensation that they need and deserve.
Yeah, because I know the problem that it creates when there's not significant enough compensation to inspire drivers to run an additional route. And one of the most important things about running the school system is getting the children to school.
100% getting them there safely and bringing them home safely. And that is a priority for us. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else?
Question.
Yes.
Question.
Hopkins? Question's been called. Ask you to
Voting is
vote your
open.
devices. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving on to the second item on our agenda, consider approval of the revisions to policy JCDA, Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Jinko.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And just a little prelude, continue to shop at home, please. As we're talking about budget, you forgot to add that, Mr. McNeely. I'll pick it up for you.
Thank the taxpayers, please shop at home. Yes. It works.
Yes. The discussions we had last year related to the feeling of rushing to get things passed. We appreciate that and know that we heard, and we made sure that that did not happen again. The key this summer before we get started is training by the student services staff with our administrators. As you've seen some of the advertisements that have gone out, we're going to get some new administrators, some new principals, and some new assistant principals. So it's going to be very important for us to make sure that we get the information to our schools, that we answer any questions we have before then. And as we start with school, the the one thing that I'm really excited about is one of our individuals that we worked with this summer, Dr. Love, or this spring and the fall, Dr. Love, gave us some recommendations, and we're obviously going to implement those because when you think about it, it made sense. We had a handbook for parents and students. We had a handbook for the administrators. We had a handbook for this group. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our handbook, and obviously it's going to be a little bit nicer than this. The front, again, I'm a high school guy. I don't get into the artsy stuff, but we've got our logo, so we'll put our new logo on here. And what this will amount to, this is going to be our administrative guide to implementing the TPSS Student Code of Conduct. This is also going to be our parent handbook, our parent-student handbook. So if Ron messes up in first hour and it is written up or coded as a disrespect for authority, the parents and the administrators will be looking at the same definition of what disrespect for authority is. They'll be looking at the same code. That is it a level 1? Is it a level 2? The one thing that we'll do a little bit differently for our administrators is when we get to the level system, our administrators will be able to click. We're going to hyperlink them clicking disrespect for authority or whatever the code is, and it will bring them to a page that just talks about that particular offense. This is what you would do on the first level. This is what the first incident, the second incident, the third incident, to give them a little guidance on what and how they would handle that particular incident on that particular student, if this their first time, second time, etc. The hindsight and the ability to say that last year was a great stepping stone, I will stand by that. Now, we did learn a lot, and that is what we're fixing to get into with student services on how we're going to handle these things going forward. And I know that's not really the topic that we're on, but I just wanted to let everyone know that we heard the things that not only the board was saying, but the things that our administrator was saying, that we need some work. And I'll get into a little bit more detail of how we're going to address those things with them. But with the Student Code of Conduct, our first change is Dr. Love mentioned the definition of due process. So we're adding that to into our Student Code of Conduct. We had a very layman's version definition of it, and she wanted a little bit more technical definition. So we're adding that to the Student Code of Conduct and the policy. Also tonight in the board, we're going to refer the due process policy back to policy to add that to this. Okay? As you move forward, and right above that, we're going to link that guide so that parents can go into it, click the link, and they will have this version to look at, definitions and so forth. We are on next page, we are talking about on number 7, if DRC recommends a student for alternate placement for fighting, then the student will attend 1 full semester in the alternative placement for the first fight, 2 full semesters in the alternative placement for the second fight in the same school year. On top of that, we have a conflict resolution class that we have advertised the individual to hire. This will take place at the alternate site. We are asking, and we're going to require that parents come that last portion of the day to take part in that class with the student. Okay? Now, the key as we go through this is we want to do a little bit more prevention. We've got peer mediation teams that we've got to use a little bit smarter in our schools. We have the P3 app that the parents can use to let us know that things are going on, to give us a heads up. Okay? So we need to reach our hand out and partner more with our communities and get some help to find out these things are happening so that we can prevent them, to keep the students in the schools where they belong. That's our focus moving forward.
Move to adopt the administration's recommendation.
Motion made by Mr. Duncan,
Second.
second by Mr. Piazza. Any discussion? Question, Mr. Trent?
Yes, please. So, excuse me for my ignorance. I'm going to go ahead and ask that first. But, so this is from the policy manual. Is this new language or is this new procedure going to appear in the code of conduct as well? Because this is what the code of conduct is what we adopted last year, and then we changed fighting to a level 4 offense. So this due process procedure states that they will go to the DRC, and if the DRC deems that that they were guilty of participating in a fight, then they're out for an entire semester and have to attend conflict resolution. Will that also appear, this language, in the code of conduct itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That will be the new rules that the schools/DRC will follow if something comes before them.
Because that's normally what I point to send out to administrators or parents who ask that question. Just wanted to make sure it wouldn't be in two different places.
And I think a point that you made after is important for us to hear, that when schools do not know what those particular things are, that's a fault of student services. So we have to do a better job making sure our schools know, especially, there are probably 8 to 10 codes that are used more than others. So everybody needs to be on the same page of those codes, what they mean, what a level system it is that goes with it, and what are the consequences.
Gotcha.
So hopefully by hyperlinking those things, we can assist our schools in clicking there, and they will see a document come up in front of them to give them a little more guidance,
Gotcha.
along with the training we're going to do.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Jinko, okay, I would just like to clarify, because piggyback off what Trent said. So the DRC reviews the evidence that is put before them. Because a child participates in the fight doesn't necessarily make them guilty. A child defending himself, we don't expect children to get beat up.
So DRC says
If
they go to jail.
if they say that they are responsible, right, then I just wanted to clear it up, because I know I'm going to get questions about that very thing.
And another thing that we're doing, we're adding a desktop review. So anytime that a school wants to recommend a student for the DRC, that school is going to sit down with a student services rep and go through the paperwork to make sure that every dot has been, dots or I's are dotted and T's are crossed before that student is sent. Because what we found is there was an issue with the school presenting the information that needed to be presented for those particular things, and the students were being sent back as they should have been. So we're going to catch that on the front end to make sure that if the paperwork's not there and we don't have proof that the child did what he or she is accused of, they stay in school instead of them being out for 8 to 9 days before there's a hearing and they're sent back. So we're going to refine this process. We're going to be better this year than we were last year, but not as good as we will be 25, 26.
And Mr. Jinko, okay.
No, go ahead.
And I would also encourage us to ensure that we do not leave children sitting out before, 2 or 3 weeks before they have an opportunity to go before the DRC.
We will start the year with the DRC every Tuesday, Thursday, and we will adjust accordingly. Our goal is less than 10 days they get before the DRC.
Mr. Joey?
And I just want to clarify too, I think I've seen these documents that you sent over to us with the leveling system and having that suggestion of what level each one falls. And that was something we did in previous years that worked really well with our administration, because it left that gray area out of the equation. It either fell here or it fell here. And I think that's very important on a day-to-day operation to get consistency with our discipline across the board.
And even to piggyback off of that, when they hyperlink on that level, it's going to give them more information to assist them in determining, does it belong here, and then is it a first offense, second offense, and so forth, and what are the consequences for that?
The only question I have, because I didn't see it in any of these documents, I know we had talked about it as a board and as in sessions, is there going to be a change also to the appeal process of how it gets back to the board? Is there going to be requirements, or is that in the works for a later date?
Yes, sir. The appeal process will depend on the number of days that the school recommends to the DRC and or that the DRC gives to the particular student. Okay. If it is 90 or above, it comes before the board. If it's less than 90, it will go to the executive team.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me now? If it's already arranged through the policy,
the coding and where they're going. Tell me then, what is the point of the DRC?
The DRC is another layer of making sure that the due process is there, just to verify that the student has been given due process. They knew what the issue was, that they've been able to give their side of the story, that witnesses were checked, and that what they're accused of is what they were actually done.
Are you talking about just on the fighting?
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, because they're still going to do the risk assessment. They're still going to determine the level of participation. Did they instigate the fight, or were they just defending themselves? You know, those types of things.
Okay.
So all of those things are still going to occur before a determination is made on.
At the school level?
No, all of that happens at the school level and then at the DRC level.
We fact check what the school is sending us, which was going to be done also at the desk review.
Okay.
Now,
And there's also special education type issues that could come up that may bring in different considerations. But if we get to the place where they have made the consideration that this incident, after the risk assessment, after the hearing, this instance was a student who instigated a fight, and the risk assessment calls for it, that they need to go to the alternative placement, then the policy is going to say they're going for a whole semester for the first incident or the second. So that discretion level.
Policies will determine.
And we know that all of you received calls when the student was sent back to the DRC. The administrators were not informed of why the student was sent back. So we're going to tackle that with when a student is sent back, the individual that ran that particular DRC will meet with the administrative team of that particular school and go through the reasons why the DRC made the decision they made to send that student back. Just another follow-up. We also feel comfortable that getting more administrators on the table on the other side of the DRC to see the process will assist them when it's time for them to do the process to get to the DRC.
I think Mr. Joey had his hand.
And as somebody was very critical about, or not really wanting this DRC process from the get-go, I've seen it this year and it worked really well. I think these changes are going to be even better to the system and how it flows. The only thing I also want to make sure, because I didn't see in that document, is if we have a student that is habitually getting these issues, like I had a kid in one DRC, he had 10 referrals prior to getting the DRC. I had one that had 18 referrals before he got to a DRC. I feel like somewhere in our code of conduct that needs to be addressed, that if you have an X amount of referrals, you're going to be reported to a DRC to get it off of a campus.
Before we get to the DRC, and on next board meeting, there's going to be some policies that are referred. We're going to do some preventive, to where after so many referrals, the student must go to the student's assistance team to find out what the issues are. So our goal is to keep students in school. We enjoy the DRC. It's if we never have one again, we've done our job. So that's our ultimate goal, is to make sure we can get that student the help he or she needs before they get to the DRC. And we think by using the SAT team, adjusting that process, we can be a little bit more successful to prevent students from getting 10, 18 referrals and getting to the DRC.
Mr. Trent?
Yes, so just one more clarification. So the language in the code of conduct is what's going to govern the principal or the assistant principal to determine whether or not they believe this child needs long-term exclusionary discipline. Is that how we're?
Well,
that's the
let's
tools
say
they'll
there
use?
is a fight on campus. There are threat assessment documents that the individuals, that the administrators go through to say, why did Ron and Trent get in a fight? You know, as Mr. Duncan mentioned, was Ron defending himself, or what happened? Go through all that. At the end of all that, if it's determined that Ron and Trent were going to fight, and they YouTubed it and all that kind of stuff, Ron and Trent will go before the DRC. DRC follows its process. If found at DRC, then both of us will go for that one full semester.
Okay, I guess my question, let me be more specific. Say that they determined that Ron and Trent got in a fight and Trent was the instigator. The principal doesn't necessarily have to send Ron
Correct.
to the DRC.
Correct.
Okay, and then one last quick question. What if the student decides to waive their right to the DRC hearing? Has that ever happened before?
Never happened. And honestly, I think they can waive their right to the appeal before the board or to us, but they're coming before the DRC.
Okay, period.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if we can kind of, if they were just say, hey, I'm guilty, do they need to still appear before the DRC?
My recommendation was they come before the DRC. That way we have some documentation to find out a little bit more, unpeel the onion of what the reasons are, to maybe get some help when they go to the alternate site.
Okay.
Which is
Gotcha.
going to be revamped also. So we're looking forward to that happen also.
Gotcha.
Call for a vote.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Moving to the third item on the agenda to discuss and consider revisions to policy JCDB, student dress code. And I note in the agenda that the administration has not recommended any revisions at this time to the policy. I think that Mr. Piazza was wanting to do some revisions, but I think Ms. Rose has a motion she'd like to make at this time.
I'd like to just make a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent with no changes to the current policy.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Duncan.
Is that really an
All right.
actual motion?
I didn't hear a motion.
I'm sorry.
Was,
The motion was to leave the policy as recommended by the
Don't know if that's a-
administration.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a valid motion because your motion is
To make no changes?
to make no changes, so there just wouldn't be a need for a motion.
I guess it's a motion to table.
It would be a mute I mean, you can't make.
Well, if 5 people don't want to revise the policy, why are we going to debate all the?
It could be a
But
motion
then
to
you just
table.
wouldn't have a motion.
No, it would be a motion to table, right? Basically to take no action, to table
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
that's,
sir.
to
Oh,
table
it
the
just-
agenda
Well,
item.
then I'll make a motion to table the agenda item.
You see what I mean? I mean, I'm not trying to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
got
just
you,
trying to,
I got
Robert's
you,
rules,
yeah.
I mean, you
All right.
Well,
can't
she's
make a
making no,
motion to do nothing.
our administrations doesn't want to make any changes, so I'm
All
just
right, so
trying
you
to.
move to table it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Duncan. Since it's a non-debatable motion, we'll have to have a vote on it first.
Okay.
So I mean, if there's more than 5 board members that want to change something, then they would vote against the motion to table.
Correct. If they're satisfied and want to go with the superintendent's
Yeah.
recommendation, then we'd vote a
I'm not gonna be
yes
active with that.
to table.
Voting is open.
No. No. Yeah, change it. You can change it.
Voting is closed.
Wait, Miss Cindy.
What?
can I change my vote, please?
Sure. Everybody's going to have to re-vote. I'm sorry. It cleared everybody's vote. Is everybody's final vote in? Voting is closed. Motion fails.
All right, I guess we'll start with Plan 1, which was proposed by Mr. Piazza. And we're going to just take each item that's listed, and we will debate and vote on each item to decide whether we want the requested change. The first is on page 2, dress code regulation. Section 2, we are deleting the provision that said students in grades pre-K 12, K through 12 may only wear stud earrings. Piercings other than in the ear are not allowed, and the replacement would read, piercings are allowed for students in grades pre-K through 12. All Piercings must have a reasonable stud that does not distract from the learning environment. Do I hear a motion to allow this change?
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Piazza. Do we have a second? There's no second. The motion fails.
Mr. Chairman, can I also say something real quick before we go through the rest of these? The reason why some of these are on here is just so everybody knows that are watching and listening and people on the board. A lot of these requests were made by administrative personnel and parents and students throughout the 2 years I've been on this board and the other years that I taught. And matter of fact, I think one of our advisors said that a lot of our policies create power struggles between our administrators and students on a daily basis. A lot of these things that are being changed or being asked to be changed would eliminate that power struggle that our administrators have to see on a daily basis because they're having to pick their battles. And a lot of board members on here have stated in multiple times on this board in public forum that we have a lot of policies that we don't enforce. And so I'm going to ask you again, why do we have policies in place that we know we're not going to enforce? And then, like I said, that's all I'm saying, and we can go down the list.
All right, we're going to move to number 3, which deletes the sentence that says, hair may not be dyed any color other than a naturally occurring color. Do we have a motion to strike that?
I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry? Ms.
I'll motion.
Robin made a motion?
No, Janice did.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Ms.
Second.
Robin. Ms. Janice made a motion and Mr. Joey seconded. We have any discussion?
Vote.
Call for a vote.
I beat you to it.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you.
We
I
got
can't
15
keep up
minutes
with
to get
everything.
through this, so we need
So
to.
I'm
sorry?
gonna do it on paper.
Repeat the motion. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
The motion is to delete the sentence in paragraph 3 of the dress code regulation that says hair may not be dyed
right.
any color other than a naturally occurring color.
That's right.
Okay, who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Miss Janice made the motion and Mr. Joey seconded.
Voting is open.
Okay.
Okay.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Ms. Dominguez, Mr. Westmoreland, and Mr. Anthony voting no.
All right, moving to number 5, it deletes the provision that says no hoodies are allowed on school campuses or school buses. Do I have a motion?
Mr. West, just want to make sure that it's clear that it's removing it from this line, but it's moving it later down in the document. So if you vote yes, you're not eliminating, you're not bringing back hoodies. It's just eliminated from that line.
And where's the next line then?
It is down to this, let's see, under
Outer jackets.
outer jackets.
Outer
So
garment?
make the motion to adopt both of those changes.
Second.
So it's under outer garments?
Yeah, it just got moved to outer garments where it originally should have been.
Okay.
So striking it from number 5, but adding it to the section
Okay.
related to outer garments as
Yes.
presented by Mr. Piazza.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got that, Miss Cindy? Call for a vote.
You made the motion. I'm sorry, I didn't have that.
Motion made by me and seconded by Mr. Piazza.
Seconded by who?
Mr. Piazza?
Joey?
I'd like to make a motion to keep the vote on the separate. You know, because I don't think those two items, I don't agree that,
It says the same thing.
actually it doesn't. It removes the requirement for hoodies and,
All right, I'll withdraw the motion. Let's just vote on number 5.
All right.
Just vote on the proposal related to.
Yes, on both.
So are we just adding it to outer
We're
garments?
striking it from, our vote is going to be to strike it from number 5, that sentence. No hoodies are allowed on school campuses or school buses.
Okay.
All right?
Taking it out of number 5.
So this motion is whether we want to take that provision out of number 5.
Okay. Voting is open.
Oh, gotta go back on my page, I forgot.
Where's that? Yes.
Ms. Richards votes yes. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving to 8, we're going to delete the sentence, all shirt tails must be worn tucked inside garments if it passes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Robin,
Second.
second by Mr. Joey. Call for a vote.
Okay, just one second. Glenn.
Who made the motion?
Ms. Robin made the motion and Mr. Joey made the second. Yeah.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes with Ms. Dominguez, Mr. Westmoreland, and Mr. Anthony voting no.
All right, moving to 9. I'm going to read what they're requesting it to state. Students who participate in extracurricular activities, e.g. sports team members, cheerleaders, spirit group dancers, band members, other drill teams may wear the group's uniform to class on extracurricular days that are previously designated by the site administration. Extracurricular days are defined as days that shall have some extracurricular event that will be held either before, during, or after normal school hours. Do I have a motion?
Hold on, I think the motion here should be to adopt the proposed change as read on number 9 and the proposed change deleting sections 1 and 2 under special occasions, because then it's superfluous.
Right. Take your time. Yes.
So the motion, my motion would be to adopt the proposed changes outlined in number 9 and to delete items 1 and 2 under special occasions.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Duncan and second by Mr. Toller.
I'd like to say something, please.
All right.
Well, I do know that when we have a pep rally or a function at our school, our cheerleaders and our band and the football players, they all get to wear their uniform to participate. They go change, they put it on, they go back to class in their real clothes. I do not think it's a good idea to allow our cheerleaders and our other activity people to wear their cheerleader uniform to class all day when the pep rally is at lunch. I don't think it's appropriate. I think that we've had a lot of complaints last year about parents fussing with the cheerleaders get to wear short skirts. Why do our kids not get to? I think it's going to open up a possibility of issues if we allow our students to wear cheerleader uniforms or whatever to class during the regular class hour. I think they should be allowed to wear them just for the pep rally or the actual event that's going on and then change back.
I call question.
All right, call for a vote.
Voting is open. No, yes, it is now. Voting is closed. Motion passes with Ms. Dominguez, Ms. Richards, Mr. Westmoreland,
I
and
was about to
Mr.
start some stuff, I'm telling
Anthony
you.
voting no.
All right, moving to number 13, adding this provision that says throughout the district, Friday shall be known as Spirit Day. On Spirit Days, students will be permitted to wear school designed and produced Spirit shirts with blue jeans. Blue jeans must meet the district guidelines, meaning without holes, rips, or tears. Appropriate jeans shall be determined by site administration. Do I hear a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Joey,
Second.
second by Ms. Robin.
Again, can
Any
I speak?
discussion?
Yes.
We're going to run out of time.
Well, for one thing, I don't think that letting them wear blue jeans every Friday is appropriate for a school uniform. We already allowed them to wear a Spirit shirt last year, which is great. Everybody was okay. We do the fundraisers that the superintendent allows so many times a year that helps our organizations in our community like TARC and the Penny Power and Options and the different things that actually count on us, United Way, to make money by our students just paying $1 to be able to wear the blue jeans. That's going to completely eliminate the option of our business community support, and I think it's not a good idea to allow blue jeans every Friday. We already allow a Spirit shirt for Spirit Days.
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield to Mr. Trent.
Okay, just really quick, a lot of our community partners depend on those particular fundraisers. Just wanted to echo what Rose said.
And I just want to say too, is it still could be held on a different day. You could hold it on a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Monday, a Tuesday.
Well,
You
then
can still
we're-
hold those penny power days whenever you want. But my thing is too, is we've been hearing all the things about uniforms, how it's harder to get. This eliminates a whole uniform for one day of the week.
And another day of the week, and another day of the week, and then we
One-
don't have no
one day of the
uniform at all.
All right,
One day.
all right, we'll call for a vote.
One less uniform you gotta buy.
Voting is open.
Wait.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Dominguez, Mr. Toller, Mr. Westmoreland, and Mr. Anthony voting no.
And Mr. Chairman, I would like to scratch the next
All right.
amendment off the list, please.
Okay. All right, we'll move to the next page, the top. The recommended sentence to be added says, blue jeans may only be worn on Spirit Days and events approved by the superintendent or his/her designee. Jeans of any other color are prohibited to be worn.
And this would be for your penny power, your TARP, and all those other days that we raise money
Do we hear
for.
a motion to adopt that?
I motion.
A second.
Motion by Mr. Joey and second by Ms. Robin. Call for a vote.
Okay, just one second.
Nothing's popping up,
There's
Ms. Cindy?
nothing popping up.
No, just 1 second.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, I'll talk faster than what I can type, I'm sorry. Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Mingus and Mr. Anthony voting no.
Moving on to shirts, it adds black as a color. We have previously solid white, navy, or school-approved color. T-shirts may be worn under regular uniform shirts. This
So moved.
would Add black.
Yeah.
So Mr. Duncan made a motion to add black to it, and Mr. Toller seconded it.
And this is only for undershirt.
Undershirts. And we'll call for a vote.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, the next section under shirts. I don't know whether I ought to read the whole, I'm going to read how it reads now, and then I'll read how the amendment would change it. It reads now, each school principal shall have the option of allowing students to wear a single design school spirit t-shirt, short or long sleeve, designed by and sold by each individual school in lieu of a polo shirt. The optional t-shirt shall only be allowed 1 day a week, designated by the school principal. All outside source spirit t-shirts are strictly prohibited and will result in disciplinary actions. The amendment would state students may wear a single design school spirit t-shirt, short or long sleeved, designed by and sold by each individual school in lieu of a polo shirt. All outside sourced spirit t-shirts are strictly prohibited and will result in disciplinary action. So do we have a
I don't
motion?
understand, is
I don't
that
understand
supposed to
that.
mean on spirit days? Because it doesn't say that.
Yes, I'm sorry. It should read Spirit Days.
It's gotta
Why don't
say
we
spirit.
put, why don't we put in, to start out the sentence, on spirit days, comma,
Yes.
students may wear.
Yes.
You got that, Miss Cindy?
I'm writing it down, yes, sir.
Thank you.
So the motion would be that on spirit days, this provision would read, on spirit days, students may wear a single design school spirit t-shirt, short or long sleeve, designed by and sold by each individual school in lieu of a polo shirt. All outside sourced spirit t-shirts are strictly prohibited. That's what you wanted it to say.
Correct.
All right, I'll make that motion.
I have that as read.
Second.
Okay.
So this means they cannot go to Walmart, they cannot go to any Tangy Graphics or anywhere and go buy T-shirts and wear it to school.
Trent seconded it.
Yes, the reason being is you have like places like Laranja High School, Punchtool High, they actually make a lot of their spirit shirts on site. A lot of our campuses could have that opportunity, and they can partner with outside people like Elite Designs, whoever they choose to go to as a school. That would bring funds to the school instead of a parent going to Walmart.
I'll call for a vote.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Moving to outer garments, the sentence of no hoodies are allowed on school campuses or school buses. Do we have a motion to add that to?
I'll make a motion to add.
Motion by Ms. Dominguez,
Second.
second by Mr. Anthony. Call for a vote.
You know, discussion,
I'm sorry,
you have discussion on that?
if you would like to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right.
We'll
So
let
I
Mr. Jerry
have-
discuss it.
Yes, I have been a continuous advocate for hoodies. I personally, hoodies are essential to my outerwear during the wintertime. Having the wind blowing on the back of my neck is critical. And I know that, that some of our children have the same issues with, on days that are inclement. If we want to place the restriction on wearing a hoodie during the summer, any season except the winter time, when the weather is inclement, and I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, or it makes more sense to allow our children to come to school as well protected as they possibly can be. If you don't want to allow the hoodies inside the building, then you can have students remove those hoodies and put them inside the book bag. I can see restricting that once they're at school, but a lot of our kids stand at the bus stops in the morning. They walk to school. That's true. They walk to school, and a lot of times when school is out and they've got to go, so not allowing a hoodie on campus is creating a health risk, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, any further discussion? We'll call for a vote.
Voting is open.
Excuse me, we're having a discussion here. I'd ask the public to hold the comments down. We're trying to conduct business.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Duncan, Mr. Toller, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Richards voting no.
All right, moving to the next section, are you going to pull that also?
Yeah. Just withdraw.
One more before that.
Oh, for
Oh,
the
okay,
green,
I sure
add the
do, I'm
color
sorry,
green.
sorry. All right, the next section allows the color green for light jackets or sweatshirts. Shall be navy, white, or school-approved color. We're adding green to that. Do I have a motion to add green as an accepted color for light jackets and sweatshirts?
Yes, move to add green.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Duncan.
Green to every school?
Did somebody
Why would you
second it?
add green?
It's a light jacket or sweatshirts. What color does so you're saying can
Right
we
now,
have?
it's only navy and white because every school has
Our
navy and white.
school-approved color.
Yeah, or the school-approved color, so which is already.
Oh, our
green.
school-approved.
Is already school-approved.
What does it
All right,
matter?
do I have a
So
second?
why are we not adding
Mr.
purple?
Piazza seconded it.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Piazza seconded.
Oh, Mr. Piazza
Made the
seconded.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
All right,
Okay, so
well,
the
let's-
question is, it's already approved. The school-approved color is already approved. Green is already approved, so why are we needing to change that at all?
Well, it may be for
At some
AV
schools, it's
or-
approved, not
or
across the
other
parish.
schools.
Why would
Not
Laranja want to wear green?
It's just an option for a parent to buy a green jacket. What does it matter?
All right, let's just call for a vote and we'll settle.
Voting
Call
is
for a vote.
open.
No.
Glenn, do we allow for discussion on that?
Well, we're already into our board meeting. I'm trying to get it.
Probably not.
Either yea or nay.
Why did they just want a green in there? You just, yeah.
Voting is closed. Motion fails.
All right, again, Mr. Joey on the next one.
He's not doing that one.
You're pulling that also?
Yes, I would like to pull
All right,
that from the.
we're going now to, under jumpers and skirts.
No, he's pulling that whole section.
The
None
whole
of that-
section.
Yeah, pull that whole section.
The skort section
Your
too?
Westmore.
Yeah, all of that's
All right.
not
The
pertaining.
shorts and skirt, the whole, the rest of the page?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's all of the Did we vote? We voted on that.
Yep.
No, we did
The
not.
special.
Yeah, we removed that one, as part of
Special
a previous
occasion?
motion.
All
We
of it?
removed it, yes. I think that is every revision that was requested in Plan 1 has now been voted and
Mr. Chairman, I would like to
Disposed of.
scratch Plan 2 from our agenda. We don't even got to talk about
we'll
it.
scratch Plan 2, and that will conclude the Policy Committee as a whole. We will take a 5-minute break, and then we will start our regular board meeting.
And next year, dress code goes to Mr. Anthony.
Thank you.